What's going on, guys? TBF Gaming. Welcome back to a brand new video today. Today we're going to talk about City of Heroes, and we're going to talk about some of the powers within it. So sometimes we like to do something a little bit different from our normal gameplay video and do a little bit of a discussion or talk about a game that we are playing. And the game that we're playing a lot right now is City of Heroes, an old school game that's made a resurgence thanks to the Homecoming team. They've actually done an amazing job of getting some servers up and allowing players to jump on there and play, and it's brought back to the old City of Heroes community, which is such an awesome community. I've got links in the description down below if you guys want to try the game out, and then links to a couple other City of Heroes YouTubers who have done an amazing job of bringing out a lot of good information on how to play the game, either through the servers or through single player, and it's just really cool to be able to jump back into a game like this. So today I want to talk a little bit about the powers. I've had a couple people on YouTube as well as in Discord ask me about the different types of powers and kind of just go to do a quick run through of it because they're not sure if they want to try the game or not, and I keep telling them that there's just so much in the game that they could definitely jump in and kind of find something that fits their play style that's a lot of fun for them. So within that, it says that there's 10 basic archetypes, and what's cool about that is even though there's 10 archetypes, there are so many combinations within each one of those that you're never going to even get close to creating one of every single one. It's really cool. I mean, within just Blaster alone, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, give or take, primary powers. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 or so secondary powers. Plus you can add in powers later on, different patron powers, inherent powers, travel powers, all kinds of different things. Powers. It's really cool how many things that you can do with the game and how you can just change it to fit your playstyle and find something that really works for you. So let's talk a little bit about each one. I'm not a pro on all of these. In fact, there's a couple of them that I haven't even had a chance to try yet, and I'm going to try. So I'll be honest with you guys when I get to them and try not to BS you guys about what the power does. But I'll go through them just kind of quickly, as quick as I can. This is going to be a little bit longer video because we are talking about each individual thing. But if you guys want a little bit more in depth of it, definitely go over to the paragonwiki.com or what is the other one that I like to use? The cityheroes.fandom.com/wiki, and either one of those will give you kind of a good run through of what these different powers are. So let's talk about the first one first. This is probably the most popular one that people get into right away, and that's ranged damage. We're going to talk about that one first instead of going in order right here, just because I think ranged damage seems to be the one that a lot of people like to jump in and do right away. It's really easy to get into when you first start, and it's a good offensive power that can get you kind of just having fun in the game. And there's so many characters that you can think of that are all about being a blaster. So let's start right up here for this ranged. The first one is Blaster. Blaster is obviously self-explanatory. It blasts things, right? He's got some really cool powers underneath it. You've got archery, kind of like your Hawkeye character, your assault rifle, your beam rifle, dark blast, and then some of these fit like your Iron Man archetype, or even like John Wick with using different weapons, dual pistols like that. You've got like the gung fu stuff going on, which is really cool. Electrical blast, energy blast, which probably one of those is more of like your Iron Man type thing. Fire blast, ice blast, psychic blast, radiation blast. I'm saying blast a lot. Sonic attack and water blast. Really cool. Each one of these has several powers within it, and they're highly customizable to where you can make them change the colors and how they work and everything like that, as well as you can add enhancements to all these different powers to make them either stronger or recharge faster, or all the different things that go in with them. For your secondary powers, a lot of these just kind of help augment those first powers. You've got atomic manipulation, devices, darkness, energy, electricity, fire, and ice manipulation, martial combat, which is so you can add a little bit of fighting to your actual blasting, so that way if you do get close. Mental manipulation, ninja training, plant manipulation, tactical arrow, which goes along good with the arrows, and temporal manipulation. My personal favorite from this a lot of times is the devices, although a lot of times I just go with more of a theme where I'm fitting fire and fire together, or fire and ice together, just for more of a theme type thing when creating the character. But devices is a really cool one that goes really well with like the different weapon primary powers, and it definitely has some really good powers within it. So that's one of my personal favorites. Just a how I typically feel about it. Now, the archetype of Blaster is all about the offense. A lot of times their survivability is a little bit lower, which if you guys watch my playthrough of the Blaster that we're doing on the channel, he definitely can go in and do some damage, but his survivability is fairly low. He does die quite a bit, and he's not much of a support character. He can do okay solo, but he's definitely better for a team where there's like a tanker or someone that can go take up the damage, and the Blaster can sit on the outside and do that awesome damage from the outside. So it is really cool. Definitely an amazing character, definitely a lot of fun to play with. One of my favorite ones, and I think from what I was reading, it's one of the top 3 most created ones on the servers, is Blaster, which is no surprise. It was the same way back in the day. All right, so that's Blaster, all about offense, the offensive juggernaut, as they say, and they can deal tons of damage. All right. The next one of the archetypes, I'm going to go kind of back and forth with these ones, but because I don't really know a lot about Sentinel or Corruptor. I don't know a lot about either one of those, honestly. I know that Sentinel is kind of the range damage on the villain side. It's a powerful range combatant and moderate protective powers to protection against control powers. Sturdier than a blaster, but it also has the ability to distract enemies to avoid being overwhelmed. So like I said, I don't know a lot about Sentinel, and honestly, it's not even listed on either of the 2 wikis that I'm just looking at real quick with my eyes right now. Although maybe it falls under one of the other ones, and I just don't realize it. I'm not 100% sure. Controller Mastermind. No, yeah, I don't see it over there. But there's also Corruptor, which is more of a control thing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. All right, another on the other playstyle front, you have what's called a tank. This is one that pairs really good with that blaster because he can go in and actually soak up all that damage. You see our little Captain America type guy, the one that's going and taking the punches for the team to make sure the rest of the team doesn't get punched. They usually have a taunt or something like that that can get the enemy's attention on them, and they can go inside of a group of tons and tons of enemies and not die, which is really cool. All right, so within the actual tank archetype, we have, let me turn that, make sure that volume's not too loud. I think I got the volume muted on here so we're not getting drowned out by the in-game music. All right, so under tank, you have a couple different ones. You've got Tanker and Brute are the main 2. Peacebringer and Warshade kind of fall underneath a lot of different playstyles, so we're going to talk about those separately towards the end. But so Tanker is the main one here. This is probably the one that I've created more than any other one because I really like to be able to get in there and actually soak up all that damage. You can see down here, survivability is 10. Melee is a little bit lower than what a Scrapper will be, which we'll talk about later. Range control, not so much. Crowd control, he does have a little bit because he can taunt and keep everyone, their attention on them. Support, he does have some powers that can kind of lend strength to people around him, but for the most part, he's not about that. And pets is pretty low because he doesn't typically have any kind of pets that he can summon. Underneath tank, there's primary and secondary powers. Primary is mainly your defensive side for the tank. For this guy, he's got all kinds of different ones that are really cool. Let's talk about the first ones, which are bio armor, dark armor, electric armor, fiery aura, ice armor, invulnerability, which is like your Incredible Hulk. This is one of my personal favorites. Once you start getting to some of these later powers, this guy can survive just about everything. It's actually pretty amazing the amount of damage that he can soak up. Radiation armor, shield defense, which is really cool. There's your Captain America type. Stone armor, super reflex is another one that I actually enjoy quite a bit, although I like it better for more of a scrapper type character. And then willpower. On the secondary side, which is your offensive side for the tanker, you have battle axe, broadsword, which these are really cool because you can actually change the type of battle axe that you have. We'll just go to it really quickly. You go over to axe, and there's all kinds of different axes that you can choose. That's a horrible looking character. Let's there we go. You can see all the different cool battle axes that you have a choice to actually wield there, which I think is really cool. All right, the other ones underneath here, same thing as broadsword. You can do that. Claws, which is like your Wolverine type thing, but that's more on the scrapper side. Dark melee, dual blades, electric melee, energy melee, fiery melee, ice melee, katana, kinetic melee, martial arts, psionic melee, radiation melee, savage melee, we're saying melee a lot, spines, staff fighting, stone melee, street justice, super strength, another personal favorite. That's like your Incredible Hulk type, you know, the one that can do all kinds of damage. This has some really good powers in it, especially I love once you get to foot stomp. That's like the most Incredible Hulk feeling one where he's actually stomping on the ground and everything around it kind of gets knocked down. It's really cool. Titan weapons gives you some really gigantic like swords and axes and stuff like that. War Mace, another one that I think is kind of customizable if I remember correctly. A lot of these I haven't got a chance to try every one of these, and that's what's cool about this is there's so many different ones you can do. All right, another one similar to Tanker is Brute. Brute, I've only created a few of these guys, but I'm actually really starting to like it. The one big difference between Brute and Tanker, Brute may not quite be as survivable. Their melee is going to be a little bit higher, but they have this little bar that slowly fills up as he's fighting, kind of like a rage meter or a two-hit meter. I'm not really sure what you want to call it. We'll call it a rage meter. And as he's fighting, it gets higher and higher, and then you're doing more damage once that fills up, which is really cool. So the longer you're in battle, the more damage you do. So that's definitely along the lines of like an Incredible Hulk if you think about that. All right, so over here under powers, it's going to be the exact same thing as Tanker, although you notice that primary is the offensive side, secondary is the defensive side, because he is slightly more offensive than the Tanker, and because he has that ability to increase his damage as he goes, he's a really cool character. And what's cool is he also has the ability to do taunt and stuff like that, despite being a little bit more of an offensive set than what Tanker is. But still, overall, he's the guy that's taking up most of that damage. He's getting in there and actually, soaking up the damage and doing damage. I don't know. He's just a really cool character. I just started playing with this guy. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Once again, Peacebreaker and Warshade we'll talk about here in a little bit. All right, next one is your melee damage. So melee damage, you have the main one that you choose under here, which is Scrapper. Scrapper is definitely the one that jumps in and does the damage right away. They can't soak up as much of the damage, but because their offense is so high, they can typically take everyone out before they take too many hits. So it means that their offense leads to a great defense, which is kind of cool. They're basically your melee combat guy, the guy that's going to get in there and do his thing. Usually single target damage, fighting one guy at a time, although they do have some good AoEs. All right, so the powers under there, it's going to be very similar to the actual Tanker. There's a couple in here that fit the Scrapper really well, like Claws. If you want to do like a Wolverine type character, there's a Claws and a Regen, which is exactly his power set, and it works out really well. It's got some really cool powers in it. Martial Arts is also really cool underneath here. It's got a couple AoEs. I think it's, which one is it? Is it the, I think it's the Storm Kick? It's either a Storm Kick or a Thunder Kick that does like a little spin kick and actually strikes everything around it, which I think is really cool. All right, so yeah, I think that's the main one. Staff Fighting, Street Justice, a couple other ones in there that are very Scrapper centric. But the biggest thing with these guys is their melee is so much higher than the actual other guys. And like I said, it's got pretty much the same powers defensively as the Tanker, even though they're not going to be as powerful defensively as what the Tanker is. All right, so that's the Scrapper. I have not ever personally played with the Stalker. I don't know a lot about it. What I do know about it is that he has really high melee, and most of the time that I've played with Stalkers, they're usually like that sneak up and do damage kind of person, like they go into stealth mode, and then they come out of that and actually do their attacks. So from the actual description, it's a skill can divert clumsy raw power and precisely applied force, can solve many problems. As a Stalker, this is a core of your specialty. You do your best when attacking from ambush, so I guess that's when you're sneaking up on people, and can even hide in plain sight to escape foes. Deadly attacks and good defense make you dangerous combatant and assassin, but you can be overwhelmed if you're not careful. So their defense is a little bit lower than what these other guys are, but really cool characters, kind of the same thing. They do have basically the same powers as the other ones, although once again it's going to be slightly different for them based on what their offensive and defensive specialties are. So, but a really cool power. Once again, I haven't got a chance to create this one very often. It's something I definitely want to try out, but I haven't really had a chance. Arachnos Widow and Arachnos Soldier, I don't really know which one they fall under, honestly. I know that they are power sets that came in much later, and that it was a like an epic villain unlock or something like that. And I know they do really good melee, and they can survive halfway decent. Although I think the Arachnos Soldier doesn't seem to me quite as strong as what the Arachnos Widow is. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to lie to you guys. I haven't really played with it, but these are kind of the enemies that you face in game, and you have the ability to create them as your character. You can see right here, melee damage 8, survivability 7. This one's got a little bit less, but it's got more range damage. So, I don't know, the Arachnos Soldier, I guess, can shoot a little bit more. The powers underneath these ones, Arachnos Soldier has his power set and a secondary set of training gadgets. And then the Arachnos Widow has the Widow training and then the teamwork. And then at level 24, you get a chance to choose which way you're going to go with your powers, whether you want to go with the Fortunata path or the Widow path. And then for the Soldier, you get a choice of the Crab or the Bane Spider path. So that kind of gives you an idea of what happens at level 24. You get to kind of diverge which way you want to go with your powers, which is really cool. All right, so that's those playstyles there. The next one is Crowd Control. Crowd Control is definitely one of my favorites. I think that for me, it's the one that's most survivable and can actually get a lot done. That is the controller. First off, is the one that I usually play with. Crowd control 10, support 7, pets. They do have some really decent pets, which is really kind of cool. So you can see all the different powers underneath here. We've got darkness, earth, electrical, fire, gravity, ice, illusion, mind, and plant, all with the word control after. So each one of those is really cool. My personal favorite is ice control, just because that's the very first character I ever created in here, and he gets a really cool pet later on named Jack Frost, and he's got some really cool powers that can both slow down and sap energy away from the people that he's fighting, which I've always thought is a really cool power, and definitely makes it to where he can survive like crazy. When I was playing with this guy back in the day, I was soloing max level, like level 53 or level 54 enemies, and doing like epic runs of getting all kinds of loot just over and over and over with this guy, and he was really strong. So it was definitely a lot of fun. A lot of other people really like the illusion control for the same reason. You get a phantasm. What was another one? I think plant control. I think you get an actual pet. And gravity, you get a singularity. Fire control, you get little fire imps, little tiny imps that kind of chase you around. Electric control gives you gremlins. Earth control gives you a little stone guy to follow you around. And I don't remember if darkness control gets one, but maybe that's what it is right there. I'm not 100% sure. Oh yeah, it says creature will fight beside its summoner, so they get Umbra Beast. Oh, it says Beast, not Blast. All right, secondary controls, I usually just choose these based on theme more than anything else, although there's some in here that are really, really good that people really fall in love with a lot. But Cold Domination is the one I use with my Ice guy just because it fit. And there's a couple really good powers in here. I really like Arctic Fog and Sleet and Snowstorm. Once you start turning all these different powers on, everything around you is just stuck, can't move, and you're able to just watch people take them out as you just kind of sit there and chill. Darkness Affinity, that one's kind of cool. It has a Twilight Grasp, which a lot of people always use, and it also has a Dark Servant, so you get a couple different pets with that one. Empathy, that's your actual healing, which is really cool, so you can actually heal the people around you. Force Field, kind of the same thing, help everyone survive. Kinetics, you give people around you more speed. Kinetics tends to be a really popular one. Nature Affinity, I haven't tried, but I want to. Pain Domination, Poison, Radiation. Rad is another one of those that's used a lot. You see a lot of different rad characters running around. Has some really cool powers with it that are a lot of fun to try out. Sonic Resonance, Storm Summoning, that's another one of the ones that's my favorite. I usually go between either that one or Cold Domination. The reason why I like Storm Summoning is because it's got the Lightning Storm that can sit there and do a bunch of damage. It's got Steaming Mist, Freezing Rain, all these different ones that kind of make it to where your enemies can't even attack you back, which is really cool. Thermal Radiation, Time Manipulation, Traps, and Trick Arrow. Each one of these is really cool and has its benefits for sure. So that's the controller. Now Dominator, once again, I haven't tried as much. They're all about the crowd control as well, and they have pretty much the same powers, but they're just on the villain side of it. I think with the controller, there's not a lot of big differences between the two archetypes, although I know some people have told me that Dominator is a little bit better at surviving. I don't know if that's true or not. I personally have not tried it enough to really know, but from what it says on the actual wiki page, which I'm looking at now, it's basically really, really comparable to the actual blaster, the exact same powers. And I don't know if I think there's a little more emphasis on some of the offensive stuff, and not quite as much with the defensive stuff that a controller has. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I definitely need to get into Dominator more and try it out just a little bit more. All right, for the support, this is like your defender, your healer guy. So you've got defender right here. They've got survivability, melee, range damage, crowd control, all kind of very mediocre. And then support is what it's all about for this guy. So the ones underneath this, it's going to have basically the same secondaries the primaries as the secondaries for the controller. A lot of times you'll see the actual one that are the empaths, so they can do the, where is it at here? Empath, Force Field I see a lot of, Empathy I see a lot, because you can actually heal the people around you, really good power. And then for the secondary powers, they've got a lot of the blast powers, so they can do a little bit of damage, although they're mainly about supporting their team. Although I've seen a few that can actually do some really, really good things. The other one underneath there, let's see, hold on. I think the other one was, I'm trying to remember on the evil side. Is it Sentinel? Mastermind? Corruptor? I don't 100% remember it. Well, the villains came in so much later that I didn't get a chance to play a lot of these guys. So if you guys know, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Maybe it's Sentinel. I'm really not 100% sure. but it's just something that I never really played with a lot with. Playstyle, the next one is pets. Pets is a really cool one. Controllers do have some kind of pets, but the main one that's like big time under this is Mastermind. Mastermind is really cool. You've got Beast Mastery, Demon Summoning, Mercenaries, Necromancy, Ninjas, Robotics, and Thugs. Basically, you have powers where you can summon creatures to come and help you fight. So under, we'll say, Beast Mastery, you summon wolves, and at level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 12, you get one wolf. Every so many levels, you get added another one. Eventually, you'll have 3 wolves. You'll have, and then as it goes further down, you'll have, ravens, lions, tamed beast, whatever, all these different ones. Summon direwolf, that's the other one. You'll have basically 1 of your top tier, 2 of the middle ones, and 3 of the bottom ones, give or take. I might be a little bit off on that. It's been a while since I've gotten an actual high level one, but this is always a really cool one. And then the secondary powers, a lot of times you can choose one of these that's going to really help out your characters. Like you see a lot of robotics with force fields, because it just kind of makes sense. You throw a little force field around your robots. Theme wise, it just looks really good. Mastermind is another hugely popular character because of that ability to actually bring in those pets. You can see pets are 10, survivability 7. I've definitely seen where I could solo bosses with the Mastermind. I've had one character that I got to level 50 as a Mastermind, and it was definitely one of my favorites. So the only 3, I think I've gotten 4 total characters to level 50. One was my first ice controller, the Ice Storm, and then my next one was a Fire Blaster. Next one was a Mastermind, and then I also got a Brute there, although that was mainly during like a double XP time where I was kind of just with teams that were really good. It wasn't based on me. And then I almost had a tanker to level 50 before City Heroes shut down way back in the day. There are a couple that I'm obviously not going through that I didn't really talk about here. They are the Peacebringer and Warshade. I don't know which one they fall under, because I think it's just highly based on what kind of playstyle you kind of set them up as. But I'll go and pull them up right now. So we got Peacebringer and Warshade. They're basically alien races. There's the Callidians, and I think Nictus is the name of it. Yeah, there we go. Nictus is the name of the Warshade. So Peacebringers is kind of the good guys, Warshades the bad guys, at least from what I can gather. It's been a while since I've really looked deep into these guys, but I've always thought they were really cool characters. They get their own teleport powers, stuff like that, and they can actually transform into this little alien, so it gives them flight as well, which is always really cool. It just gives you a chance to create some really diverse characters. I think that's why I liked them back in the day. The powers underneath that, for the Peacebringer, you've got Luminous Blast and Luminous Aura. For the Warshade, you have Umbral Blast and Umbral Aura. Each one of them are, if I remember correctly, they were very blaster oriented, or it's like when you changed into your alien mode, you were more blaster, and then if you changed into the other one, you were more of a tanker or scrapper. I really don't remember. I know there are specific enemies out there that do more damage to these guys, so it made it a little bit dangerous. They could definitely hold their own, but then if there was these specific bad guys coming after them, like if there's a Warshade that came to fight you, they could do more damage to the Peacebringer or vice versa. It was something like that. They were always really cool characters, though. So I know there's a couple other ones that I didn't really talk about. I didn't go much into Widow or Soldier because I just don't know a lot about them. Same with Sentinel, Corruptor, some of these other ones that I've not played with a lot. Corruptor, I believe, is just the same as the Defender. These are the support guys, right? I think that's mainly what they do. On the villain side of things, you can see support down here, 8 range damage, 7, so they can still do that damage. But I've always thought it was a really cool power, but I haven't got much into it either. But there you go. That just gives you a brief description of a lot of these. I'm not a pro on any of this. I'm not going to pretend to be. Hopefully, it kind of just helps you get an idea of how many cool things there are and how many different playstyles there can be based on all these different powers that you can match up and kind of mix and match and have a lot of fun with. So, and that doesn't even talk about the fact that later on you get different travel powers, you get ancillary power pools, which can kind of help out your character. That has stuff to, like, anywhere from blasters get like extra cold or flame mastery. Controllers get kind of the same thing. Defenders get like an electric and a dark and a power. Scrappers get different blaze, body, darkness, weapon. Tankers get Arctic, Earth, Energy, or Pyre, and then so on down the line of the different characters. They get these different masteries that they can get later on, which give you a few extra powers that are actually really, really powerful. So it's really cool. But yeah, so overall, just so many different things to choose from, and this game is all about alt-itis and creating as many characters as you possibly can. Hopefully you guys jump into it. Definitely check out the description down below if you guys are interested in playing. Go check out some of the other YouTubers that are doing videos on this. They do an amazing job. It's got my interest sky high in it. Hopefully you guys are at least finding these videos somewhat fun. So kind of a long video, 20-something minutes. Hopefully I didn't go too deep into anything because I don't know that much about anything, so I don't think that happened. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you do make it this far, I'd seriously appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down below, all those kind of things. It's been an awesome chance to talk to other fans of City of Heroes and find out people that I've been playing other games with this whole time are actually fans of City of Heroes. Has been really, really cool. All right, guys, I will see you in the next episode of City of Heroes or any of the other content on the channel. Definitely go check it out. I will see you in the next video. Thanks.